So forgive me, this is the first attempt at proper voiceover for any of this. It's going to be an entertaining ride for all of us. But anyway, basically what you see here is us getting the cutting list sorted out and made, or rather cut, for the sandpaper shelf project. And one thing I will call out is I have an ever-increasing hatred for working with sheet goods because they're so large and ungainly and they tend to hurt you when you mess up. I just don't like them. I'd rather work with a bunch of boards and then stick them together to make the big things I need. But for this particular project, we used plywood. That being said, I did purchase the Krieg rip cut attachment for my circular saw, which is incredible, to be honest. I'm not one of those types that, at least at this point so far, I'm not doing a paid review or anything like that. They didn't send it to me for free. I bought the damn thing. But it's definitely worth it. I enjoyed having it. It made life way easier when trying to make a straight cut through a piece of plywood. That being said, the thing only goes out to 24 inches, which sucks. We had a couple 26-inch cuts we had to make, and ironically, the guide is long enough. It just doesn't have the measuring ticks out there, and one of the clamps doesn't quite fit on it, so it's not stable. We did it anyway, and it worked. So, yeah, that's just how it is. I mean, the wrong tools for the right job or the right tools for the wrong job. Hey, I don't remember which way it went, but either way, it works out. Anyway, one thing I will call out is what you see us doing here is vacuuming up the dust in between cuts. Sometimes I have learned recently that is rather important when trying to do significantly precise work. So definitely make sure that you clean up, because a little bit of dust can make your wood move more than you think it would. So the other thing that you'll notice here is we did this dry fit, and the boards aren't the right size. So the reason that happened is because I drew a picture, and it's a two-dimensional picture, not a three-dimensional picture, and using inside dimensions and outside dimensions and interchanging the two does not work out in your favor at all. So we ended up wasting a bunch of wood and having to recut everything. Well, we didn't have to recut everything, but I believe we had to do the sides and the back over again. And at that point, we decided to do the back out of 1/4-inch ply because we didn't actually have enough 3/4-inch ply to finish the back. Which, if you're going to hang this shelf on a wall or something like that where the back needs to be sturdy, that could be a definite holdback. So anyway, you see us here going through again and basically recutting all the pieces we need. And there's a pretty funny part coming up here because Charlie's a badass. Definitely got to look at the camera to make sure it's watching before you do something funny, right? Excuse me. Anyway, moving on from that, this is us cutting out the actual shelves themselves out of 1/4-inch ply. We chose 1/4-inch ply because it's just holding up sandpaper. It's not really heavy, and they slide in and out of the little dado cuts we did really easily. So the shelf is completely modular. If you need a bigger shelf, slide a couple out. If you need more sandpaper slots, just slide them back in. There you go. It's a pretty good little deal. I could see a problem if you're bad at hanging things on a wall and you hang it at an angle. The drawers, they're not drawers, and that might be the problem. They could potentially slide out if you hang it facing forward a little bit. But again, you ought to be a little bit more precise than that. So learn your lesson and do it right the first time. This is all great fun, and to be honest, working with sheet goods, I wouldn't do it without a partner. Having a buddy there to help is a huge benefit. You see, we can just kind of assembly line this out. And doing it myself would probably take 2 to 3 times as long, and you can draw your own conclusions. It could be because I'm not especially talented, but hey, it works. I believe this is us cutting the back for the shelving unit itself as well. anyway, once all that's done, you see we did a few things that you probably shouldn't do. Is we have a pretty cluttered environment, so tripping hazards are a thing. Our cords are laying in the middle of the floor. These are all things that we're learning as we go. So just wanted to call that out for the benefit of the people who are who might be trying to do this themselves. Is I have eaten concrete in the garage a couple of times due to my lack of organizational skills. So that being said, be aware and don't be dumb. Quite a little assembly line going right there. The other thing is using a table saw for these smaller pieces of ply probably would have been beneficial, but we were just on a roll with the circular saw, so we just kept it going. There will be a full cut list put in the description as well as on our website. And I do the write-up for this as well, so you'll have less problems than we did because you'll have the correct math. Anyway, here when we did a dry fit, the shelves were a little bit too wide for the casement, so just a quick hit with the random orbital sorted that out for us. Just to call out on this here. When you cut a dado, I would suggest not using your final piece for the test cut. Get your dado depth and width set properly on a piece of scrap, and then go from there. Basically what that ended up doing was the two cuts didn't quite line up, so the bottom shelf has a little bit of a step to it. Not ideal, but hey, it is what it is. Other trick that I learned pretty recently is using the adjustable square as a depth gauge. Works pretty effectively. It's actually kind of awesome. It never amazes me how many uses for the most mundane tools that you can find and take advantage of. So what we did here to keep the shelving heights even is put a pencil mark on the fence inside the first dado cut, so that every time we moved the board over, all we had to do was line up the dado with the pencil marks on the fence, and they're all consistent cuts. That allowed us to replicate it between the two sides perfectly. And yes, you can give me all sorts of ribbing about the fact that they don't let the blade spin down before I let go of it. And in fact, one time in here, I believe I left the saw on, which is probably a terrible idea. You also saw just there us cleaning up the sawdust again, because it literally will mess up your angles on your shelving dados because there's sawdust in between the board and the fence. It's not a fun thing to work with. So yeah, that's something to definitely keep in mind and keep an eye on and clean up in between cuts. I also doubled up on the precision on this because I wanted to make sure that they were lined up properly, so we put the original dado cuts upside down on top of the other board and pencil marked them as well, so I have 2 points of reference to make sure I got them accurate. Basically with woodworking, what I've learned is if you screw up one side, screw up the other side the same way and you'll never know the difference. That's why there's a shelf in my living room that has one that's about 2 inches wider than the others. Oops. Nobody notices though. That's the awesome thing. Except me. It drives me insane.
Clog?
Guess what? Gotta go on the video. Safety glasses, huh? Good thing I had my safety squints on.
Maybe you shouldn't point the glue bottle at your face and squeeze.
I get it all?
Yes, I think so.
I feel like there's some.
Might be a little bit in your eyelashes. And you might want to use a clean section of the towel for that.
Whatever. Nobody cares what you think. Okay, grain going this way.
Yup.
Glue.
Glue.
It's not clogged anymore.
Yes. Ta-da!
So here we have finished Sandpaper Shelf Mark II. You're welcome.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it finished just yet.
Well, whatever. Never mind the brad nails sticking out of the side.
Right. I think we might need to run the sander across the shelves now that we've got them in.
Probably.
But other than that, I believe this is the idea.
So here we have the finished sandpaper rack. It comes complete with a bunch of shelves and storage space for the sanders because we realized we had too many shelves and didn't need so many. So I pulled 2 of them out, made room for the sanding units, and we're good to go on that. It's not exactly pretty, but it's a pretty useful piece of shop furniture and was really easy to make. So it's a success in my book.
Go away, babe.